Did Warner Brothers really hide the original ending of them for more than 70 years? Or did something even stranger happen before the cameras ever reached the final battle? The story sounds like classic Hollywood mythology. A legendary monster movie, a lost ending, a studio too nervous to show audiences what it had planned. Giant ants crawling through the shadows of an American city. Soldiers flooding the streets, panic spreading underground. And then, supposedly, the ending disappears. No public release, no famous deleted scene, just whispers that them once had a bigger, darker climax than the one audiences saw. But the truth is not that simple. The ending of them was not banned in the way people imagine. There was no secret tragic finale locked in a vault. No forbidden scene where humanity loses. No alternate cut quietly buried because it was too disturbing for 1954 audiences. The real hidden story is more practical, more frustrating, and in some ways more fascinating. The ending most fans talk about was abandoned before it could be filmed. Not because it was immoral, not because censors demanded it, but because it was too large, too expensive, and too difficult to build. And once you understand what the movie was originally heading toward, the final version suddenly feels very different. Them begins like a crime scene, not a monster movie. A little girl wanders alone through the New Mexico desert, silent, sunburned, and frozen in shock. There is no roaring creature on screen. No big reveal. Just emptiness, heat, broken glass, and the feeling that something passed through this place, that human beings were not meant to survive. A trailer has been ripped open. A general store has been destroyed. Bodies appear, but the killer is missing. The strangest clue is not blood, it is sound. That eerie, high-pitched, almost mechanical cry became one of the movie's greatest weapons. Before the ants are fully seen, they are heard. The audience is forced to imagine something massive moving beyond the edge of the frame. In modern monster movies, the creature often appears early. In them, fear arrives before evidence. That is why the first half still works. It does not begin with spectacle. It begins with investigation. Police Sergeant Ben Peterson, played with grounded toughness by James Whitmore, follows the clues like a man trying to solve a murder that makes no sense. FBI agent Robert Graham, played by James Arness, enters the case when the wreckage connects to a missing federal agent. Then the film brings in Dr. Harold Medford and his daughter Dr. Patricia Medford, scientists who understand what the authorities do not. The thing killing people in the desert may not be human, and it may not be natural anymore. The first full sight of the giant ant is still shocking, not because the puppet is perfect, but because the movie has earned the moment. The desert has been quiet for so long that when the creature finally rises into view, it feels like a nightmare stepping into daylight. These ants are not magical beasts. They are not aliens. They are ordinary creatures transformed by radiation after atomic testing. That detail is what gives the film its lasting bite. Them is not just asking, what if insects became enormous? It is asking, what did mankind wake up when it started splitting the atom? That is where the so-called banned ending myth begins to grow. Because them is not a silly creature feature in its bones. It is a Cold War anxiety film wearing the mask of a giant bug thriller. The ants are monsters, yes, but they are also consequences. They are the shape of a fear America had created with its own technology. Now here is the part many casual fans never hear. The earliest version of the story was not centered on the Los Angeles storm drains. The original idea involved giant ants in the New York subway tunnels. That one change transforms the scale of the entire movie. New York is not just a backdrop. New York is density, noise, crowds, trains, stations, platforms, steel, electricity, panic. A monster under the desert is terrifying. A monster under one of the busiest cities in the world is apocalyptic. Imagine what that climax could have been. Not soldiers creeping through empty concrete tunnels, but commuters trapped beneath the city. Not just a nest hidden in darkness, but an entire underground system becoming a hunting ground. Trains stop between stations, lights flickering out, platforms evacuated. Police trying to seal entrances while the city above has no idea what is moving below. That was the kind of nightmare the New York version implied. But implication is not production, and Hollywood in the early 1950s had limits. To create a full-scale New York subway climax, Warner Brothers would have needed major sets, crowd scenes, complicated logistics, miniature work, stunt coordination, and effects that could make giant ants feel dangerous in a crowded urban environment. The idea was enormous. The available budget was not. So the location changed. The story moved from New York to New Mexico, then toward Los Angeles. and the final battle was reshaped into the storm drains and river tunnel system. On paper, that sounds like a downgrade. In practice, it may have saved the movie. The Los Angeles tunnel ending is not epic in the way a New York battle might have been. It is not a citywide disaster sequence. It does not show ants crashing through streets or tearing apart subway cars. Instead, it becomes something tighter and more claustrophobic. Soldiers drive into a concrete maze. Flamethrowers light the darkness. Every turn could reveal a worker ant, a queen, or the missing children everyone is trying to save. The world becomes narrow. The sound echoes. The monsters are not spread across a metropolis. They are hidden somewhere close. That is why the final act still has power. The cheaper ending accidentally creates a stronger sense of dread. In a giant city battle, the ants would have been spectacle. In the storm drains, they become ambush predators. The humans are not defending a skyline. They are crawling into the nest. There's another lost version hiding inside them, too. The version that was supposed to be bigger visually. The film was originally connected to plans for 3D and Warner Color. In the early 50s, studios were desperate to pull audiences away from television and back into theaters. 3D promised objects flying into the viewer's face. Color promised spectacle. For a movie about giant radioactive ants, the combination could have been outrageous. Mandibles lunging toward the audience, flamethrowers blasting into the screen, red and blue title letters warning viewers before the nightmare began. But those plans did not survive. The final film was released in black and white, with only the title effect giving audiences a flash of color. Again, something bigger had been reduced. Again, the movie lost a layer of spectacle, and again, the loss may have helped. Black and white made them feel sharper, colder, and more documentary-like. The desert looks bleached and haunted. The tunnels feel like military footage from a real emergency. Instead of colorful pulp, the film becomes a procedural nightmare. That is one reason Them has aged better than many of its imitators. It treats the absurd idea seriously. Nobody stands around making jokes about giant ants as if the movie is embarrassed by itself. The police investigate. The scientists explain. The military responds. The characters speak with urgency, not camp. Even when the ant puppets show their age, the film's atmosphere protects them. You believe the fear because everyone inside the story believes it first. And then there are the production secrets hiding in plain sight. The ants were physical creations, operated by technicians with ropes and pulleys, mixed with shots of smaller models and real ants enlarged to monstrous size. That means the creatures have weight. They scrape through spaces. They cast shadows. They do not move with modern smoothness, but that awkwardness almost makes them creepier. They feel like machines pretending to be insects, which is exactly the kind of unnatural horror the atomic age theme requires. There are also small mistakes and hidden fingerprints. Fans have long pointed out moments where the mechanical illusion is imperfect. One ant has been reported as showing part of its interior mechanism in the climactic sequence. For some viewers, that breaks the spell. For others, it adds to the strange charm of old Hollywood effects. You are watching craftsmen fight impossible limitations in real time. Every wire, every pulley, every shadow is part of the battle between ambition and budget. Even the sound world has a legacy. Them includes uses of the famous Wilhelm scream, the stock sound effect that later became one of Hollywood's most recognizable inside jokes. It did not begin with them, but its presence connects the film to a strange hidden history of reused studio sounds, the kind of detail most audiences never notice until someone points it out. A scream meant for one movie echoes across decades, just like the fear in Them, echoes far beyond its own story. But the most powerful secret is still the ending itself. After the soldiers destroy the final nest, Them does not end with victory music that tells everyone to relax. It does not pretend the danger is gone forever. Doctor. Medford looks at what has happened and gives the movie its real final wound. Humanity has entered the atomic age. A door has been opened, and nobody knows what will come through it. That line is why the ending never needed to be banned. It was already disturbing enough. The ants may be dead, but the cause is still alive. The soldiers can burn a nest. They cannot uninvent the bomb. They cannot seal the future. They cannot promise that the next mutation, the next accident, the next consequence will be something they can defeat with flamethrowers in a tunnel. The monster movie ends, but the warning continues. This is where the banned ending legend becomes useful. Even if it is inaccurate, people feel that Them should have a hidden ending because the movie itself feels unfinished in a cosmic way. The final scene does not close the fear. it expands it. The audience leaves knowing the ants were only one possible answer to a question mankind had just created. If radiation could do this once, what else could it do? If the desert could produce these creatures, what other places might already be changing? That is the real terror Warner Brothers released in 1954. Not a secret cut, not a forbidden finale, not a lost tragedy where the ants win. The hidden ending of them is the version that never happened. The New York subway nightmare that was too expensive to film, the 3D color spectacle that collapsed before release, and the bigger monster movie that got compressed into a lean, black and white warning shot. And somehow, by losing all of that, the film became stronger. Because the version we got is not about watching a city fall. It is about finding evidence after something impossible has already happened. It is about a child too traumatized to speak. It is about grown men with guns realizing they are not at the top of the food chain anymore. It is about science explaining the monster while also admitting science helped create it. It is about the terrifying idea that progress can open doors no one knows how to close. So, the next time someone says "them" had a band ending hidden for 70 years, the answer is stranger than yes or no. No, there is no famous secret finale sitting in a vault. But yes, there was another version of the nightmare, bigger, more urban, more expensive, and lost before it could exist. The ants were supposed to crawl beneath New York. The movie was supposed to explode in 3D and color. The climax was supposed to feel massive. Instead, it ended in darkness, concrete, fire, and one of the coldest warnings in 1950s science fiction. Maybe that was the real miracle of them. The ending Warner Brothers could not afford might have been spectacular, but the ending they made became unforgettable. Because sometimes the scariest monster is not the thing crawling through the tunnel. It is the door mankind opened, and the silence after someone asks what comes next.